So stay with us. So there's sort of the way that we've always presented this revenue impact is through a bar graph illustrating the use of system charge. So people might have seen this if you've been on this wheeling training before. And I hope this concept assists in sort of understanding how wheeling impacts municipal or distribution utility revenue. I'm saying municipal, but I know there's Eskom colleagues on the call, and it's exactly the same for Eskom distribution. These concepts are sort of entirely transferable from Eskom distribution, especially in the context of unbundling, where Eskom distribution is its own entity. So then so this graph shows the Eskom energy purchase price. Landile, hi. I will share. I mean, I hope you can see the screen as a start. Gosh, if you're not seeing the screen, I hope I'm not talking to nothing. But I'll share these slides after each day. So after 12 today, we'll circulate these slides. Maybe what I'm hearing you say is that you'd like me to have circulated the slides ahead of time so that you can track back. I haven't done that, so I'll share the slides maybe at tea time. I think we'll stop at 10:15 for a little comfort break and a cup of tea or coffee, and then at 10 I'll circulate the slides at 10:15. Thanks, Lantile. So this is the revenue impact of wheeling here. So in the cents per kilowatt hour charge, so in the energy charge that we charge our customers, this is sort of generally, and we've done many cost of supply studies for municipalities, and this is pretty much across the board. This is what the energy charge comprises of. So the energy charge, and we call this the retail tariff, and the retail tariff is basically the tariff that municipalities or Eskom distribution charges their end customers. So it's just your LPU, time of use or not time of use, flat seasonal, whatever the tariff structure is, pick one, and in that tariff, the energy charge, the cents per kilowatt hour component, comprises of an amount that you pay Eskom. So that would be this blue portion here. And then in addition, there's some municipal markup or a use of system charge. And that is the use of system charge. That's for the use of the distribution grid that these customers are connected to. There's also non-energy charges. So in this graph, we're only talking about the cents per kilowatt hour energy charges. There's also fixed charges. There might be demand charges. There can be availability, rand per amp charges. There's many other charges. But those are all unaffected by wheeling, because what's important to note is this off-taker, this customer, that previously they were consuming Eskom energy, and now they're going to be consuming wheeled energy. Their load profile and their consumption doesn't change. So your meter, your municipal meter reading their consumption will look the same before wheeling and after wheeling. Nothing's changing. That business is just still operating as a business. It's just now a case of now a portion of the energy is coming from some wind farm instead of just all being municipal energy. So their fixed charge, their demand charges, all of that remains unaffected. The only thing that is affected in wheeling is this energy component, because you need to say before wheeling, they were consuming all Eskom energy. And now after wheeling, they're no longer consuming this blue portion, because this is the energy price that you paid Eskom. So this is your Megaflex cents per kilowatt hour charge. And after wheeling, the way, and I'll show you on an Eskom bill, the way it works, Eskom says, oh, hang on, there were a certain amount of units that this customer consumed, or that this municipality consumed, that we didn't provide. Have I gone mute? Let me see here.
No, Josh, I think you're all good.
Sorry, Lwandile, I don't know, maybe your sound's down. So after wheeling, okay, wait, let's first, before we go into wheeling, let's do this example here. So let's go through this example, and maybe each person can do it together. So there's a municipality X, and their MV time of use tariff at peak time is 5 Rand a kilowatt hour, and Eskom Megaflex at that same peak time is 4 Rand a kilowatt hour. How much revenue is the municipality making on each kilowatt hour sold? So how much money is the municipality making? So obviously the bill, let's say they consume 100 kilowatt hours, the bill is 100 times 5. So that customer is paying you 500 Rand, right? But you paying Eskom for every kilowatt hour 4 Rand. So you'll be paying them 4. So the municipal revenue, the money that stays in the municipality is, I think everyone will agree, only 1 Rand a kilowatt hour, right? Not 5 Rand. Are we together? The bill, the amount that you charge them, you'll bill that customer 5 Rand for every kilowatt hour. And so the amount of money coming into the municipality is 5 Rand a kilowatt hour. But you paying straight for every kilowatt hour, you're paying 4 Rand. So when we're looking at wheeling, people often say, oh, but the customer's bill has gone down, right? Yes, the bill will go down. But what's important to say is the municipal revenue is not directly correlated to the bill. The municipal revenue, we need to consider how much did we pay Eskom, and then after paying Eskom, that's the net revenue in the municipality, and that's the amount of money that matters. So the net revenue after paying Eskom is the amount of money that matters in this case. Does everyone agree on this concept? Because that's really important. That it's not the total customer account that matters. It's the revenue after paying Eskom. Are we together there? I don't know if anyone wants to just raise your concerns. Let me know, because this is pretty key. And maybe it's obvious, but yeah. Thanks. Audrey's with us. Jonathan, thumbs up. So hopefully we're good. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure that if anyone's feeling confused about this concept, please let me know, because that's pretty key. So let's go. I'm sure we're together. Nick, you will just let me know if I'm missing things or whatever in the chat anyway. So now, after wheeling, this is on the right-hand side here. The way Eskom does it is they provide what's called a WEPS credit. WEPS stands for Wholesale Energy Pricing Structure. And it's essentially, it's Megaflex without the losses. So Megaflex is the WEPS price plus your transmission losses. And so WEPS, effectively what WEPS is that's the price of only generating energy. So it's the wholesale energy price. So it's just the price as the energy leaves the generators. And so now when Eskom says, okay, now this customer has consumed wheeled energy, then the WEPS price that's the avoided cost, right? So we were talking about the avoided cost earlier. So the way Eskom does billing is they'll bill the municipal account. So the municipal account, when there's a customer, and I hope I'm not confusing people, but when there's a customer within a municipality that's consuming wheeled energy, and let's say it's an Eskom connected generator somewhere in the Northern Cape, solar plant, the municipal bill won't change. The municipal the kilowatt hours won't change. So at the end of the month, Eskom sends a bill, and the bill will look exactly the same as it did before. Then Eskom sends a second account saying, oh, hang on, we see that there was this generator that sent X amount of kilowatt hours into your municipality. And so then they provide you a credit. So they give you a minus sign, and I'll show you what a bill looks like. And they provide you this credit. And then the municipality says, oh, hang on, great. So we'll pass that credit on to the customer. So the municipality's bill to the wheeling off-taker, you charge them in full. So you charge them this full retail tariff, and then you minus this. So you provide a credit for the Eskom energy purchase price, or this WEPS credit. And the effective amount left is the municipal use of system charge, this markup, this municipal net revenue. So remember earlier we said you charge the customer 5 Rand, and then you pay Eskom 4 Rand. Now what happens when there's wheeling, you charge them 5 Rand and you credit them 4 Rand. You give them a minus 4 Rand. And so the amount of money coming to the municipality is still the 1 Rand that we made before. Hang on, I don't want to go steps to implement wheeling. Let me just change my presentation here. Give me a second, sorry. I hope that concept is coming across clear. It's pretty simple, but it really matters. Wait. Actually, the way I've structured this, I'm so tempted to just go straight into all the details of of the of the tariffs, because that's what excites me. But I mustn't get too sucked in. I must I must try and keep it at a high level. I've probably already gone too much into the details. If you're feeling confused about the net revenue calculations, fear not, because we'll be going through that in a lot more detail. We've got a little spreadsheet tool. You're going to put your tariffs in there. You're going to put your Eskom purchase price. You're going to say, for a specific customer, you're going to say, how much are they paying us today? How much are we making after wheeling? So yeah, so the tariff side of things will come. All I wanted to say there is that, and it's a really important principle, and all municipalities that are wheeling today, except for one, pretty much everyone is implementing this principle of revenue neutrality, or not revenue neutrality, because revenue is like the gross revenue will go down, but it's this net revenue after paying Eskom. So some call it surplus neutrality. So the amount of money that stays in the municipality must be the same before and after wheeling. So even in George municipality, and we'll look at their policy, their wheeling policy, it states very clearly, wheeling must be surplus neutral for the municipality. So the great thing is that the renewable energy prices have gone down to the point where we can allow wheeling, and there's a business case for wheeling without implementing municipal revenue. So that's really exciting, and that's really important principle. And that's all I wanted to say there in that slide, is that we can do wheeling without impacting municipal revenue. So there, to try and keep it at a high level and slightly sort of introductory, these are the steps that we need to take to implement wheeling in a given municipality. And so this comes from SALGA's status of wheeling report, and I've shared a link at the bottom there. So in 2023, SALGA published this wheeling in South African municipalities status of progress report. And it's really interesting. It provides an overview of which municipalities are wheeling, how much energy is being wheeled, and etc. And then there's these sort of 7 steps to wheel. And the idea of this wheeling training is obviously to assist municipalities to implement wheeling. So the idea is that we want to try and assist you in working through some of these 7 steps. So the first step is senior staff buy-in. And obviously, it goes without saying that if senior staff aren't sort of convinced that wheeling is important and wheeling is necessary, then we're going to struggle to progress. We're going to struggle to get tariffs approved. We're going to struggle to get policies approved. So we really want to try and get senior staff buy-in. So hopefully people are on this call, can be the wheeling champions in your municipalities, and you can drive this process. Obviously, we've also got resources, we've got videos, we've got infographics that you can take back to your councils, your head of departments, and you can sort of explain these concepts of wheeling to them. The second step is a municipal wheeling policy or guideline. Guideline feels less sort of binding, but it serves the same purpose. And the idea of this training is that you walk away with a customized wheeling guideline for your municipality, your logos on it, customized according to how you want to wheel. So that's really part of this process. Then you need to get that guideline approved by council. Hopefully, if the right people are here, or if the right people are convinced in your municipalities, you can table this wheeling guideline at one of the next council sittings, or get it on the council meeting agendas, and you can get council to approve wheeling, or get council to approve the wheeling guideline as a concept. Wheeling tariff setting is an important step. We've said here it takes a bit of time, but again, the 2 things we want you to walk away from this training is, 1, a wheeling guideline or a wheeling policy, and secondly, a wheeling tariff approach. And we'll see the wheeling tariff approach is actually a lot simpler than people think, because there's this sort of WEPS credit method that we recommend, and that Eskom's using, and that NECOM's recommending, and that's noted in NERSA's draft wheeling rules. So this wheeling credit method really makes things very straightforward. So that's wheeling tariff setting. Then the next step is wheeling agreements or wheeling contracts. And that can take a little bit of work. The wheeling contracts, and I think Bernard from Western Cape Government will mention the wheeling contract templates that they have developed later this morning. But the wheeling contracts can be a little bit arduous and detailed, because it goes into the legal sort of responsibilities, and it gets all lawyer speak and contractual. And so hopefully in your municipality, you've got a legal expert that can at least assist in this process. We've seen that some, especially smaller municipalities, often struggle and they don't have the legal expertise to sort of drive this process. And obviously the private sector, these wheeling generators, have strong legal teams, so there can be a bit of a mismatch of skills there. And so that's why the Western Cape government has developed this fantastic set of templates, and it guides you through making decisions, or each area where there's a potential decision. It sort of guides you through the implications of each. And then there's the billing system upgrades that are required. A big deal has been made out of this billing system upgrades, and a lot has been said about it, and that wheeling is so complex and it requires all these massive billing system upgrades. And everyone has sort of used this billing system upgrade as a reason why we're not wheeling. And like I've changed my mind on this. I think it's a lot simpler than people are making it out to be. We know that Eskom has been wheeling. We said there's 2 gigawatts of generators that are wheeling on Eskom grid, and it's basically all being done through a basic spreadsheet. So like, I don't think this billing system upgrade is an excuse anymore. We should be doing this, and there's smart people here that can do this, and we don't need to be saying, oh, we're struggling with our billing system. We can do this. And the idea of this training also is to get to grips with all these wheeling calculations. So we're going to get into the spreadsheets tomorrow, and we're going to figure this out so that we can sort these billing system problems out, because we need to. There's no one else that's going to do it. We can't keep waiting for Moonsoft and Sun Moon and all these billing SAP and all these companies that maybe I'm being controversial, but promise us the world and then it doesn't happen. Like, so anyway, we're going to do this on spreadsheets and we're going to make this happen. So yeah, let's do that. But that is an issue. I recognize it is a reason why there's been a lot of stalling on wheeling, is the lack of billing system upgrades. And it's because, remember, this whole wheeling thing is basically an accounting exercise. We're passing credits from one place to another. We're just reading meter data and passing credits around. So yeah. And then finally, open wheeling market. In terms of the timelines, it says sort of hopefully within 18 months of starting, we can be wheeling. And George Municipality showed that is possible. There was a wheeling champion, there was an intern, the head of electricity was on board, and they made it happen really, really quickly, including all these steps. So it is possible. I know Ekurhuleni's also moved really quickly. They've had some issues with, getting supply agreements amended from Eskom and that whole deposit issue. But Frans, you'll give us an update at some point. I think you've been progressing really well and showing us that it is possible. I think you've also gone for an Excel approach on the billing system. So so you'll motivate us to that we can do this. But yeah, so that's the sort of the steps to implement wheeling from that SALGA status of wheeling report. Then we've got this video. Now, I'm not sure if, hi, Valentine, please jump in. I hope you're not from a billing system company and you had to tell me that.
No, George, I just wanted to ask about the wheeling steps. Are those steps supposed to be in the order that you are presenting, or can they be applied in any order?
Yeah, this is just sort of an order from experience from a couple of municipalities who've done it. But no, you can definitely apply it in any order. I think, most likely the wheeling tariff setting can come quite early. Like, we're going to be doing that and the policy today in this training. So these 2 steps can come up early. I mean, normally you'll want to have your tariff before you do the billing system, and normally the wheeling agreements, the contracts, speak to some of these earlier things. So, but yeah, there's different ways of approaching it. I think the Western Cape government also suggested tariff setting come right at the start. So yeah, this is not a fixed order.
Okay. Yeah. Then that's fine. Yep.
Thanks, Valentine. Where are you from?
From Cocta.
Oh, from Cocta. Oh, of course. Oh, great. Thanks, Valentine. Oh, no, couldn't picture your face. But now No, I just couldn't put your face to the name, but now I remember. Thanks, Valentine. Yeah. So, so that's sort of that's that. there's this video, three minutes and 3.5 minutes, explaining wheeling. I think it's really nice because the graphics are a lot better than the ones I showed. Should I give it a go, playing it, sharing screen and playing it and sharing the audio? I'm just worried that my internet might be lagging and that it might not be a good viewing experience. But let's try. And then Nick, you need to just yell if it's looking bad. Then I'll stop and I can just share the link. But let me.
Cool, will do.
Let's try. Let's see if we can. Oh gosh. Okay, here we go. Mm-hmm. Okay. You need to be honest. Please, if it's not looking good, just stop and I'll share the link.
Wheeling is an exciting new possibility to address the electricity crisis. This video explains electricity wheeling in South African municipalities. In a traditional electricity system, large power plants generate electricity which is transported through high voltage transmission lines into municipal distribution networks, where it is consumed by households and businesses. George Municipality has been a leader in the wheeling space, and their head of electricity, Bongani Mandla, explains wheeling.
Wheeling refers to the use of the municipal or Eskom grid to transport electricity from a private generator to a private off-taker.
Revenue loss is a major concern among municipal officials when introducing new services like wheeling. To understand the revenue impact of wheeling, it is important to understand that when customers receive wheeled energy, their energy consumption does not change. Municipalities should charge wheeling customers for using the grid at the same rate as they were charged when using Eskom energy. These use of system charges will ensure municipalities will not see a change in their revenue. There are a range of benefits of electricity wheeling for local businesses and economies.
In George, we found that the benefits for wheeling are the fact that we are able to reduce the bulk purchase cost for a customer, as well as from a municipal point of view. We are able to reduce reliance on Eskom. And I think thirdly, we are able to provide a price certainty to businesses and commercial customers who want to start their investment within the George municipality area.
In addition to cost savings and price certainty, wheeling also allows businesses to consume clean energy to meet their climate commitments and remain competitive.
As George Municipality, we're excited about the local wheeling because it's got an additional benefit in that it is local investment that stimulates local economy and growth, because people will be building in the local market and there is job creation and it uplifts the lives of the citizens within George. And that is one of the things that we thrive and you're excited about.
Offering customers new service choices increases customer confidence in the municipality, which can lead to customer retention and growth. Wheeling is a new service that municipalities are being asked to respond to. We asked Bongani for the key actions municipalities can take to facilitate wheeling.
To facilitate wheeling in the municipality, I think the key aspect would be firstly to have a wheeling framework established, have that taken through to council so that council approves a wheeling as a service that the municipality provides. Thirdly, ensures that the necessary contracts and commissioning reports are in place. And then lastly, ensure that the billing systems is adapted in such a way that it can handle the wheeling transactions.
There are lots of ways to engage and learn more about wheeling. Reach out and we'll guide you on the best way forward.
There's something about moms.
I hope that worked okay. I got a little bit of a glitch somewhere early on, but it seemed to jump back. Let me, Nick, I'm wondering if we shouldn't just share things as we go, because of course we'll send links afterwards, but let me just put that in the chat so that people can. Yeah.
I can do it for you if you'd like.
Okay. Let me just dump it. Thanks, man. Yeah, so there's the video. I think it's a good video. I think Bongani speaks really well from George Municipality. Well, he was at George Municipality, explaining this concept of wheeling and why it's important for municipalities to do this. And yeah, the steps to take, and he really emphasized the benefits of local wheeling, the local generators, like local solar and wind farms within the municipality, wheeling to other customers in the municipality. So he was talking about local economic growth and jobs, and yeah, I thought that was really nice. Yeah, so maybe before diving into more content, maybe we can just hear from people for 10 minutes if people have thoughts around wheeling. Nick, I don't know if you've managed to put together that the Mentimeter we wanted to share to get people's inputs on their concerns for wheeling. If you've done it, you can like in the next 5 or 10 minutes, you can pop the link in the chat and people can respond to that over tea. But yeah, maybe just to give people a time to share your thoughts. I don't know if you have thoughts from the few slides we've shared, or if you have your municipal experience around wheeling and your concerns, or if you have questions from the slides or anything like that. Yeah, feel free to raise your hand and jump in. Yeah, we'll be going into the tariffs and the policy or the framework or the guideline in the next few hours of the trainings. But in the meantime, if you have thoughts or questions, please let us know. Yeah, thanks. Hi, Tabo. Thanks for raising your hand. How are you doing?
Thank you, Josh, and good morning, everyone. I think mine is not a question, Josh.
Okay.
It's just to request, because I had some network issues this side.
Okay.
I'm from Covenberg Municipality in Secunda. So I'm requesting, and I just want to check if is it possible that we can get your today's presentation, so that now I don't take you back where you have covered things. It will be wasting time for other members. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, that's fine, Tabo. We'll definitely circulate. I'll send the presentation to everyone now at tea time. And then we'll also, at the end of each day, we'll send all the resources and links. But Tabo, if you have a specific question, I'm sure other people might have a similar question. So feel free to just tell us your concern or your thoughts, and I'm sure others will have had the same question in mind. So it's not a waste of time.
Yeah, no. For now, it's just
Okay.
that now I've because now you were explaining wheeling.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I joined later. I had some network challenges. I wanted you to go back to explaining what is wheeling, so that I can understand it. Because now I entered where you were opening a slide on the steps of implementing a wheeling. I think
Okay.
there I was clear because we were showing the processes that we need to take
Right. Okay.
before we do the implementation of
No,
wheeling. But
thanks,
now
Sabo.
I was interested on maybe explaining it, but now I thought maybe you have passed it.
Yeah, we have. No, that's fine. Thanks, Sabo. I
Yeah.
understand where you've come in. Okay, so you totally missed it. I thought you might have had a question on a specific concept. Noah, do you want to explain to him, or do you have a separate question? Hi, Noah, long time.
Morning, George. Yes, morning, colleagues, and morning, George, and everyone. George, I think I know I have a question. Unfortunately, I can explain.
Okay, no, that's fine.
I just want to check since the last time that I think we spoke about this before. Have you maybe found the methodology of working around the issues of power theft? Because of I think that's the risk. As you have explained, I've explained it very nice that we are making more power available to the power grid. For example, if the generator is when it wants to inject, or the point of generation is just adjacent to where most of illegal activities or power theft is happening. So obviously, like whatever that will be generated, it will be just useful for power theft. It will be energy loss. So maybe is there a mitigation for that for that as well, so then that through the wheeling we do not have more power to be taken away by people who are not willing to come right up the front door and apply for service connection. Maybe do you have maybe a methodology of filtering that, so that you can know and then what are the risks, especially for the generation and especially on the generation point of view within the municipalities, of course. Thank you.
Thanks, Noah. Yeah, that's an interesting perspective. I can try to share my thoughts, but I'm sure other people on the call might have better inputs on that and have sort of thought about solutions. Maybe just to say to Tabo about your question about what wheeling is. Yeah, let me send the slides around at tea time, and you can read through the description of it, or you can watch that video that we've just posted the link to, and you can see if at tea time if you get to grips with it. If not, then after tea time we explain it again, what wheeling is. But in simple terms, just really quickly. Okay, great. Bernard's going to also cover it later again this morning. So we'll be repeating these concepts, and because it's not easy for many people, it's the first time you've heard of wheeling, you've read about it in the news, and now this is the time for you to want to walk away and be able to tell someone else. When someone says, what is wheeling? Then you can explain it simply. So Bernard's going to explain it in his input after tea time. There's the video. Please watch the video at tea time, and we can cover it again tomorrow morning. Everyone must be like wheeling experts by the end of this. So yeah, so thanks for that. Then Noah Fakude from City of Tshwane, your question about how can we make sure that when we allow these private generators that all the electricity doesn't get stolen, and or how can we mitigate against theft when we add these new generators? It's an interesting point, Noah. From my mind, as I understand this, I don't see how the two are related. If a whole lot of electricity is currently getting stolen from your grid, like 25% non-technical losses or whatever it is, and now you add a generator, it's not going to change. Like that, the electricity is still going to get stolen. So it feels like these are two separate issues, and even if you connect the generator close to where there's a whole lot of theft, that the theft is still happening. There's still 1,000 kilowatt hours a day or whatever getting stolen, and I don't think these two issues are linked. Whether you're paying Eskom for non-technical losses, or now you're losing it from a private generator, it's still the municipality is bleeding, and it doesn't. I don't think that these two issues are related in my mind, but I don't know if anyone else wants to come in on the theft issue. But yeah, I think theft is the priority that must be addressed, irrelevant of wheeling, and wheeling is something that we want to introduce irrelevant of non-technical losses. That's how I see it. But if anyone else wants to add to that point over the next hours or the next couple of mornings, please do. Hilton, your hand's up. Do you want to come in with a question or a thought, please?
Yes, thanks, Josh, and good morning to you, and good morning to the rest of the colleagues in the group. So, my name's Hilton Reynolds. I'm calling in here from Mdlatu's municipality.
Fantastic.
Am I audible?
Yeah. We hear you well. Umhlatuzi, lots of big customers there. I know there's a big demand for wheeling, so we need to make this count. Yeah, please.
Okay, no, cool. No, I know that you said tomorrow you're going to be going into a little bit more detail on the tariffs, but just conceptually, I just want to just get a grip around the issue of what is the generic idea behind the bills for those customers that are going to be subject to the wheeling tariff? Is the billing going to be in the form of a credit on the account and the credit, or is the billing going to be in the form of revised tariffs, which take into account the wheeling? So not you don't have to go into the detail because I gather you are going to talk about it, but I just want to just understand this thing because you made emphasis on service providers having to change their billing systems and that. And I don't get that because unless there's some complexity in the tariffs, yes, the billing might be affected, but a tariff is a tariff. If you either going to reduce it or you're going to increase it.
Yes.
But essentially, there shouldn't be any form of complexity here. So just from a generic point of view, is it in the form of a credit, or is it in the form of changing the tariffs, either increasing or reducing them, but obviously, hopefully to reduce them?
Yeah. Thanks, Hilton. I love your perspective and take on this like perceived complexity. No, so that question around, is it a credit or is it a new tariff? That's a decision you need to make as a municipality, and both routes are totally possible, and both routes have the same outcome in terms of municipal revenue. So it's literally a case of what you prefer conceptually and what you think is more, easier to implement on your billing system. So earlier I showed that example of the customer's retail tariff at a given time of day being 5 Rand a kilowatt hour for the energy portion. And then at that same time of day, you were paying Eskom 4 Rand a kilowatt hour. So the two ways of implementing wheeling, obviously the bottom line is you want to recover your 1 Rand. Obviously I'm making this simple now. There's losses and there's other things to factor for, and we do factor for that. But just conceptually speaking, the municipality makes 1 Rand a kilowatt hour after paying Eskom. So you charge them 5 Rand, you pay Eskom 4 Rand. The one way to do it, and the way Eskom does it, is they charge you the full 5 Rand, and then at the end of the month, they see, oh, there was all this energy wheeled to you. Then they credit you at 4 Rand, and then effectively you're left with your 1 Rand. So the one way to do it is you overcharge and then credit, and you're left with your use of system charge. The other way to do it is for wheeled energy, you just only charge them the 1 Rand use of system charge, and you don't charge them for the active energy, the energy portion. So the one way is you charge a new tariff, 1 Rand, which is the use of system charge. The other way is you charge the 5 Rand and you give a wheeling credit of 4 Rand, and you're left with the 1 Rand. So those are both options that you can decide to do, Hilton. I don't know if you want to follow up on that point before we move on, or if that sounds good to you.
No, I think it's fine for now. I've got more questions, but I think that's Benjamin jumped the gun.
Let's look.
You've answered the question.
Okay.
So I still don't see why any billing system will have any complexities surrounding this thing.
Well, to be fair, maybe I'm making it overly simple. There are some complexities. Remember, there can be many generators wheeling to one customer, or there could be one generator wheeling to many customers, and you need to say, okay, this generator's at that meter, we read the data, and they've fed 10,000 kilowatt hours into the grid at this time of use period in this month. Now we need to split that energy to these different accounts or these different off-takers according to certain sort of allocation percentages. And so, I mean, I still think it's relatively simple. You still just take that, multiply it by the allocation percentage and allocate that to a specific meter. But when at scale, when there's thousands of generators wheeling to tens of thousands of customers, then you want this all automated. And I get that that you want to have a billing system that does this automatically. And especially in the city of Cape Town, they are doing these billing reconciliations on a half-hourly basis. So every half an hour, you're allocating energy to the off-taker. Did they use the energy, or was there too much energy generated? Was there a surplus or a deficit? So these calculations, when you're doing them on a monthly time of use period, let me just catch this mute here. I don't know, maybe. What's going on here? Jonathan, I'm going to mute. So I don't know if I've given you insight into the potential complexity, and it can get complex at scale with lots of generators. So then Bernard's also saying that it's only a portion of the customer's energy that's wheeled. So like what Bernard, you're saying there is a customer will be buying electricity from the municipality, and only some of the energy will be wheeled energy, and they'll always still be buying some energy from the municipality, because if the generator sends too much electricity to the customer's account, then they lose that energy. It's a surplus, so they always keep it slightly below, and they sort of wheel 60 to 80% of the energy in a given time of use period, and the rest they buy from the municipality. It's still doable with Excel. It just when it gets at scale and there's lots of meters, then you want it automated. I hope that isn't. Hilton, I don't know if you have a last thought there, or if we can move on.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. But I think we'll get to it tomorrow.
Yeah,
I think the easy way around this thing is to be buying it at scale and then passing on the benefit to your whole base, and
exactly.
not to individual customers. I think that
So what I'm hearing you say is the municipality buys renewable energy and shares the cost across all the customers in the municipality. Yes, that's great. The problem is that you're still relying on the municipality's balance sheet and the municipality's financial viability of buying power, which in most municipalities, frankly speaking, is very challenging. And we've seen municipalities have been very slow to procure renewable energy. So yes, I agree with you in principle, far better and far more, more equitable and stuff. But when you are in an energy crisis and you need generation, the private sector can do it really quickly. And so this is one way to facilitate it. But what is important is that we don't let those customers avoid any cross subsidies. We don't allow them to avoid any contribution to non-technical losses. All the costs that customer was paying now is paying today in contribution to the municipal grid, they must pay when they're wheeling. So that's fine. They can get their cheap energy and they can avoid paying for Eskom's generation costs. But any municipal costs they need to continue to pay before and after wheeling. That's sort of the approach in the wheeling rules, etc. Thanks, Hilton. That's a useful perspective. Cornelius. Hi.
Right. Thanks, Josh.
Yes, thanks.
Yeah, so just to answer that one question about the theft, I think you just to make
Where
it simple
from, Cornelius?
is
Sorry,
Cape Town. I'm from Cape Town, or I work in Cape Town. I'm from Yellow Door Energy. We're an independent power producer. So if you guys want to have PPAs and wheeling, hit us up. To answer that question, basically about the theft is you're gonna have a meter where you're pushing energy into the grid, and there's going to be a meter where there's energy consumed, and what happens in between doesn't really matter because it's energy, it's electrons. So if somebody steals electricity on that line in between or anywhere, it's not really going to affect the person because you're still going to have the data on your billing meter says I exported and you have your contract and imported. So it's not really going to make a difference. What I did want to bring or talk about or get your advice on is how is self-wheeling approached? So let me just make the picture here is I've got a client. The client has got some high voltage or bigger than medium voltage lines at different levels, which we can use some of the or different of the overhead lines to wheel power. They own the line, and it goes through over multiple earths or multiple properties, farm portions, whatever. Say they own all of those themselves, right? They own the line, they own all the properties, but they are injecting energy on one spot of the line and then using it on another. So the term, I think, is self-wheeling. How is this approached? Do you still have to have a agreement with Eskom then, or with the municipality then, or how is it approached in regulatory terms?
Cornelius, I'm not sure I understand. So is it all behind 1 meter? It's all behind the utility meter? No?
So there's several utility meters that will be aggregated into, say, one Eskom account.
Oh, right. No, so the electricity is still flowing through
meters.
It's still flowing through the Eskom grid, right? Like the electricity is being injected at one point and used at another point, and it's going via a utility grid.
Kind of, but how I see it is that they're going to be owning that line that is going to be built or is built or whatever, that they own the line, but they are still supplied by Eskom somewhere at the edges of the point, and then in between they are wheeling to themselves. How does that get approached?
Yeah, so I mean, I think this is like maybe a bit of a niche one, and it's probably maybe not worth going into too much detail. But what I hear is that if there's several meters and the electricity is getting injected at one point and taken, consumed at another point, and it's going via the utility grid, then then you pay for the use of the grid. Now you're saying that there's a meter, but they still own the grid upstream of that meter, then that's a little bit confusing. I'm not sure I understand why that would be the case. They should just move the meter up to the point where, but I get it, like in self-build options, sometimes when you connect a generator, you're required to build a substation, but normally you hand the ownership of that grid over to the utility. So I don't understand why they'd own the grid. And even if it's self-wheeling from your own generator to your own off-taker, it's still going via the grid, and so it's no different from whether it's two different people. In the past, there was mention of related parties, wheeling between related parties in a few ERA amendments, Schedule 2 amendments a few years ago, but that's been removed, and there's no need to wheel between related parties. So yeah, I don't think that self-wheeling is any different from normal wheeling. It's just that instead of paying, outside of the public system, we really only interested in the utility grid part of the story here. But obviously there's a power purchase agreement happening between the off-taker and the generator. And now you wouldn't be paying for a PPA, you're just paying off your bank loan with you got that you used to install the solar system. So so I'm not sure it's any different from normal wheeling. I'm not sure if anyone else wants to contribute to that, please do. But yeah, thanks for your point on the theft. I see it similar to you, that it doesn't really impact wheeling. I think Noah's point is just obviously theft and non-technical losses is front of mind in the city of Tshwane, and like with this new opportunity of wheeling, is there a way that wheeling can try and address this issue? And I think it's innovative thought. I'm not sure that there is that we can sort of tie the two together, but maybe others have suggestions as we go along. So we'll keep that one in mind, Noah. Thank you. Thanks, Cornelius. I don't know if you have any other thoughts or points, or we keep them in mind as we go.
Yeah, I'll keep them in mind as we go.
Thanks.
I joined a little bit late. I had another meeting, so I'll be looking at the slides just to catch up and stuff, and then Cornelius. I'll gauge my questions on that.
Cool. Mark, and then Sibeko, and then we'll wrap for tea. How are you doing, Mark?
Hi, Josh. No, I'm good. Yourself?
Yeah, good. Thank you. I've moved to your town, so I'm now paying my electricity account is up to date. So, all's good.
Great to know. For the rest of the company, Mark Benson, Stellenbosch Municipality. I've got a question around the credit component. How does it work? Maybe you're going to speak about it going forward in terms of it's a part of a tariff, and how do we actually deal with the credit component after a period, maybe 12 months? Or in terms of the Information Finance Act, we can't just, it's a competitive process if you want to procure or pay people. So is there any sort of, how did George deal with it perhaps?
Yeah, that's a good point, Mark. Thanks. That's really good point. So if I can also just elaborate on your point. So what we're suggesting is when we're doing this wheeling, then we're offering a credit to the customer. So we're reducing their bill by a credit. But Mark's saying, does this trigger the MFMA? Because now you're sort of paying out customers. We've had a legal opinion done on this. I can also share a link on the legal opinion, and obviously many municipalities are implementing it without problem. So when it becomes a problem, Mark, is at the so you can allow these credits to accumulate. Normally, what municipalities say is that you at the end of the month they don't carry credits over. Some municipalities do carry credits over. Remember, this is different from embedded generation. Embedded generation, we definitely want credits to carry over. With solar wheeling, I think it's still valuable to allow credits to roll over, because sometimes you want to allow for the seasonal differences in generation. So in winter months, customers are consuming more and solar is generating less. And in the summer months, the PV is generating more and the customers are consuming less. So you can allow that credit rollover. But what is really important is that if this customer has so much energy being wheeled to their site that these credits push their whole account into the negative, and at the end of the financial year, you now owe this customer 10,000 Rand. You're not going to take their bank details and pay them out. City of Cape Town has done the whole cash for power program. Let me just catch a mute here. Sorry, guys. Yeah, mute control sorted, I think. Yeah, so I think in the case of wheeling, you're not going to pay that customer out cash for the credits that they have at the end of the financial year, because then it does trigger the MFMA. Well, you can do that. You can have a cash for power program, but then you need to have a exemption in terms of the MFMA, and that's sort of level 5 wheeling. We're just trying to get level 1 here. Like, we just want to try and implement wheeling. And so I think in the first basic step, we can say that credits might, or you can decide whether you want to allow credits to be rolled over month to month, but at the end of the financial year, credits or accounts will be cleared. No money will be paid out to generators, because that does trigger the MFMA. Yeah, Mark, I don't know if that covers your question.
Thanks, Josh. No, covered.
Awesome. Mark, I would love you, not now because we must take a tea break, but we'd love to hear an update on what's happening in Stellenbosch, because you guys have been pioneering the wheeling space, but I know you had a lot of issues with your Eskom account. But I also understand that NECOM's been doing a lot of work to try and remove this constraint and allow Eskom accounts to be amended without paying this deposit. So we're going to come back to you, Mark, when there's a quiet time and ask for an update, if that's fine. And you can tell us what you can. But first, Sibeko, and then we're going to break for tea. Hi, Sibeko. Where are you from?
Good morning, Josh and colleagues. I'm Siyabonga Sibeko from Mhlathuze Municipality.
Fantastic.
All right, I've got maybe a concern and maybe 2 questions. One of the colleagues raised concern about the electricity that is lost during the distribution, and maybe right now we don't have a solution to this, and do understand, because it's still a new thing. But I think that we need to keep in mind that whatever electricity that is lost through the transmission, in a way, the paying customers eventually pay for those losses. So I don't know how and where the whole process of wheeling can also try and address that. Maybe this is not for this session, but it is a valid concern, and it's something that we need to think about. I mean, every day on the news, they're talking about the electricity losses, the water losses, and whatnot. At some point, we need to find a solution to this. Then on my questions, it's I did ask this to another group that with this wheeling, how, if, for instance, if we've got generators that will be supplying us electricity via the wheeling, how then to make sure that we avoid load shedding, especially because you find that the companies in Cape Town, we are here in Richards Bay, and we've got that agreement. Surely there must be a way for us to avoid load shedding when we've got all these agreements in place. So it's something that I don't know, maybe if you can clarify, or something that you can think about for future. And then on this one, I'm not too sure, but I'm hoping that when you get to billing, I'll understand it better. The benefit of lower tariffs. Is there benefit of lower tariffs because of this wheeling? How do we benefit as the municipality? Right now on my mind, I feel like they would be transmitting electricity to the ESCOM network. Then when it comes to the billing, it will still be the ESCOM tariffs. And then the credit is only for the electricity which was wheeled, which did not come directly from ESCOM. But I was hoping to understand how do we benefit from the lower tariffs? Because if we've got a company that supplies electricity from the solar panels, their cost will not be the same as the ESCOM costs. So there must be a way for us to benefit from such things. Thanks.
Thanks, Beko. Yeah, lots of good points. Yeah, here heard on the losses front, and then on the load shedding question, and then this lower tariffs. So maybe on the losses point, I think, yeah, it's a good point. I think firstly, what's really important is that the customers that are paying for these losses, if they decide to wheel, they can't avoid contributing to paying for these non-technical losses. That's a non-negotiable. Whatever they're contributing to the running of the municipal grid today, they must contribute to the running of the municipal grid when they are wheeling. And that's all within that whole use of system charge. Use of system charge is a loose term, but basically what we mean to say by that is they're paying for the running of the municipal grid, including cross subsidies, including non-technical losses, including maintenance, salaries, all of that they're paying for the use of them. Everything other than what you pay to ESCOM, they must keep paying. So that's really important. I think Noah's was about how we can use wheeling to reduce non-technical losses, not about paying for it. And that I'm not sure about if there's a way. I think wheeling can address some issues, but not all. And similar to load shedding, wheeling it indirectly addresses load shedding because it allows for more generation to come online, which is really important. So how are we going to solve load shedding in the long run? We're going to have enough generation. So that's what wheeling does. But if an off-taker is buying wheeled energy, they don't get exempt from load shedding because they have a wheeling contract in place. If you know how it works, your whole town gets switched off, and just because they're buying wheeled energy, then they also get switched off. So only batteries or behind the meter technologies can help customers have power during load shedding. They give them resilience, but not wheeling. Wheeling addresses ending load shedding in the long term, but it doesn't help an individual customer be protected against load shedding. Yeah, that's the general sort of consensus. There's been some ideas in municipalities where they say, we can try and keep a portion of the grid live, and there's that whole debate in the Free State with I can't remember the municipality's name and specific solar customer, and there's a lot of ideas around how we can prevent customers from being load shed because they are generating, but as I understand, there's nothing sort of currently being implemented. And then your last point was about reducing tariffs. There are some ways, they're small, for wheeling to reduce overall municipal costs, and we'll get into that tomorrow, I think, or later when we look at the numbers. But generally, I think the idea is that we want to be surplus neutral. So we want the municipality to be earning as much revenue as they were pre-wheeling and post-wheeling, and not any worse, and I mean not any better. Generally, maybe a little bit better, but definitely not any worse. So there's not a way of reducing tariffs, but it's at least ensuring that the revenue is the same. Maybe there are some ways that we can hear from colleagues about reducing tariffs through wheeling. Let's hear. But yeah, thanks, Sibeko. Those are a bunch of really interesting points, and hopefully everyone's heard that, and we can keep them in the discussion as we go. Should we break for tea? 15 minutes till 10:45, and then it would be good if people can respond to this Mentimeter about your concerns. We just want everyone to be giving inputs so that the topics we discuss address your concerns. So there's a couple. I see you've asked a couple of questions here on the Menti. So if you just click the link in the chat, if you just scroll up one or two, you'll see there's a Mentimeter link, and there's a QR code if you want to use your phone. Just click on there and respond to the questions. And then when we come back at 10:45, we'll review what people's inputs are, and then we'll keep going into burnout session at 11. Valentine, do you have a last quick point before tea? If it's a question or a discussion, let's save it for afterwards. But if it's a quick one, then talk to us.
It's actually a question, so let's talk after tea then.
Let's bring it onto the table after tea, if that's cool. I think we need to take a quick break. So I've shared, have I said there? Yeah, 10:45. So we'll see you in 15 minutes. Thanks, colleagues.